problem. I respect you, Chair. Thank you, Nkalenkosi. Nkalenkosi baphinde bangithuma ke South Africa futhi. Bathi angibabongele kwinsizwa ezigadile. But baphinde bathi angibuza ukuthi how safe is the PKTT currently?
Honorable Chair members, on the PKTT, I'm not worrying much. I worry a lot about the team in Gauteng. The counterintelligence investigation operations that is taking place in Gauteng. I worry about their safety. Why do I say that? Because they were put in a safe house to operate from. The member of this house, together with others, they publish the photos of that house in the media. So therefore, their working place is compromised. The members that are operating the driving vehicles, those vehicles have been exposed in public. And I believe in some degree, maybe even the names of the members might be known. And their safety for me is a concern. The safety of the members that are working in Gauteng, they can't go home. If they go home, they go with the entire delegation of police officers protecting them. So their life is disrupted. And their families, I don't think they're protected either. So it is that group in Gauteng. I spoke about 2 sergeants yesterday. There are other junior members that have joined in that are working with them now because the team has grown bigger. But together with the 10 that came from KZN. So it's quite a lot of them that are part of the operation. It's those members that I worry more than I worry about the PKTT. Because PKTT is in KZN. Yeah, well, at least they have me and the rest of men and women employed in KZN. They should be safe. I cannot guarantee the Gauteng team the same.
Who's in charge of the Gauteng one and what has he done?
The Gauteng one is General Commando that is currently arrested. The one that's told he must not enter premises of intelligence.
So currently nobody's in charge of it?
Well, I think the members are trying to operate from wherever they're operating from because they have been compromised wherever they want to work. Now, within crime intelligence, they cannot operate because what they are trying to deal with involves members within crime intelligence, and the boss of crime intelligence was told by court not to enter the premises, so that they become vulnerable, those members.
If I may interject, the member you speak about who was taking out photos and stuff like that, are you able to tell us the name who was that member? Because I think that's the worst the member can do and put.
Yeah, well, the member of this parliament, Ms. Barnard, published the photos of the house. Some of the properties as members are working from in her media statement that she issued. I'll reference to it if I sit here, but it's in the public domain, it's known, and she published that. So here's the address, here's the house, and here's this, here's that. They got that information from members within intelligence that were against the work that the team is doing, and they took it out there to the media. So, and that compromised the operations. That's why I'm saying that I worry more about the Gauteng team than I will about the PKTT. I think PKTT in KZN, they operate in the place where they've got men and women that knows how to fight the enemy that are surrounding them. So they're quite okay in KZN. But the Gauteng counterintelligence team, I cannot say the same about it.
Okay, I've served under you, under SAPS when I was still working them. So I don't know this part, if I'll be wrong or right. Would what the member done be criminally? Be classified as criminal to take out information of safe houses?
Yeah, no, definitely that's a criminal offense, and I do hope that the authorities that are responsible for it, they can to assist us in making sure such is investigated. I call for an investigation by state security on these leakages of information to the media, amongst of the things that I spoke about yesterday, for specific journalists that keep writing about these things, including the members of this parliament and members within crime intelligence, as well as the Inspector General of Intelligence.
Do you have any proof or evidence of this DA member, Kole Barnard, who took out the photos of such?
Well, I don't know who took the photos, but I know that she participated in the circulation of the photos of these residents and addresses in the question that she had asked in Parliament, which I made a reference to when I presented yesterday.
General, let me leave that one because this got some is not. One last question. How do we breed police who stand firm for the country like you did? And how do we protect them from being killed after they have done so well, like a PKTT, which is overlooked when it comes to being recognized or rewarded?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I think because of the members of government or members of parliament and all the leaders of our society that must do something to make sure that there's an employment out there, that the youth go to university and study and they get opportunity to go and work. And by so doing, they'll do what they're passionate about. But we find of late, most recent advertisement, we're looking for 5,000 police officers. We have more than 1 million applications. And more than 50% of those are graduates. They all want to be police officers. They don't have it in their heart to chase criminals. They don't have it in their heart to lay their lives before the citizens to protect them. About them is job. They have to get employment. So they're applying to join the police not because they want to protect and serve. They're joining the police because it is a career for them that they want to pursue. They're unemployed, they're sitting at home. So if you were to ask me about the police officers that are committed to do the job, there are many of them. But unfortunately, I cannot thumbs up now and give the percentage of the total workforce. How many of them are actually dedicated? How many of them are not? We have 3 categories of employees that we have. We have those that want to lay their lives. And the majority of those that want to lay their life, they listen to the guidances that you give them as a police in terms of equipping themselves with regard to survival tactics, because we teach them those things. And they practice that. They stay fit, they stay healthy, and they stay sharp all the time. They don't go into dangerous situations alone without inviting their colleagues to accompany them. So those are the good ones that really do what we try to help them to do. And there's limitation on what government can do to protect the protector. The protector is supposed to protect the citizens. So therefore, the protector must be equipped with resources, physical and skills and the likes, to allow the person to protect himself or herself. So we have that group that is there that we must continue affording the opportunity to be reskilled so that they learn the tricks and techniques that are going to help them to survive. But then we have the group that is lazy in the middle, that missing group in the middle who doesn't want to work, who just enjoys the salary at the end of the month. Something needs to be done about them. That's why performance management and the likes that needs to be reviewed, because there's quite a lot of them that are somewhere in the middle. They are not acting because some of them are lazy, but some of them are not acting because they're afraid of the consequences of acting against criminals. They end up not doing anything. So we have to deal with that group. But then we have the rogue squad on the side, the criminals within the system, few of them. But I believe that our labor laws that deals with the punishment of those, it's allowing them to stay within the organization despite all the evidence that might be presented to get them out. Technicalities, you dismiss a person who was involved with robbery, caught red-handed, arrested, and then it is dismissed in the organization, and he makes an appeal through the council. And on technical grounds, some of the technical ground is because there was no one representing the state who came to argue the case, therefore a default judgment is given. You are forced to reinstate the person back into the organization. It's the labor law that allows that to happen. So it does not take away that he's a criminal. So he's reinstated back into the service because the system allows it. Then you see it with the person that is already been found or arrested for serious crime, but he still wears the uniform with you. And that's what we need to try and fix. So you have that rogue squad that I wouldn't worry about their safety. We have this missing group in the middle that I shouldn't worry much about their safety. But we have the hardworking cops, as we're talking about. We need to provide them with resources, physical, to help them to stay safe. We have to provide them with different skills that should allow them. And as we are saying, motivation is key. The reward system that we have perhaps might need some adjustment. Yes, we do have, but it might need to perhaps to be readjusted so that it benefits the majority instead of the few. Yes, we are going to reward the person. For instance, let me use an example that we always do. We'll give a vehicle to a top police officer that we have, but the vehicle costs R5 million. But you have more than 10 or 20 police officers who are actually doing exceptional work. But you don't have means to reward all of them. You reward one. But you can take that vehicle and sell it and spread that money and give it to all of them and buy them things that can benefit the majority. But because of limitation as an organization on these rewards, the system of government doesn't allow us to take your money, taxpayers' money, to reward members like that. So therefore, we have to go and look for sponsors somewhere. And when you get a sponsor, there's condition that you can't take money from outside. You have to get, so there's those limitations that makes it impossible to reward everyone. Again, the promotion system we have in the police, it's not about what you've done and how good you are. It's about how you perform before the panel. You arrive before the panel, you exceptionally well, you tick all the boxes, you get appointed, and yet you're lazy. You get a rank, you go outside, you don't deliver. But how can the panel not appoint you? Because if you're not appointed, you register a grievance and you say, I perform better than this one. I've got this qualification and that qualification before that one. A hard-working horse, usually, does not have time to study. A real police officer, he runs around with a dog, chasing criminals out there. He's on a boot and overall every single day getting dirty, search for dead bodies under the water, and do all the dirty things. Whereas the one who sits in the desk has got time to register the university and research and post get advertised, he can see the computer, can apply. That one doesn't even see the computer. He end up not applying, end up not getting motivated because he doesn't get promoted. Then you have someone who's a desktop person who then become a commander of this one. And then he demoralizes the member. So it's a system within the organization that we might need to look at. And unfortunately, because we are centralized at the national level, we can come up with a proposal. It won't change the policy of the organization. But if it's decentralized, this thing in the province, maybe with the provincial management, we must start saying, how can we best motivate these members that we have? You might come with a reward system that involves the provincial government that may be in a better benefiting of the members that you have in the organization. So it's different approaches that we might want to employ.
I think I would be correct if I say we both agree that what we need to look at is the constitution of the country. That somewhere it has our problems. ANC, I'm a victim. So young victimize, anything I'm a victim, young victimize. Sorry, it's low. So would I be wrong if would I be correct if the constitution has flaws? Because the Minister of Home Affairs comes out and says there was a whistleblower was shot twice, and that whistleblower is still alive, unlike the lady was killed for Tembisa. And the murderers or the suspects are still out with the Lamborghinis. And it's the same law that takes those people out. They are not even arrested. The people you've mentioned that have done wrong, together with the minister, are not in jail. None of them is not in jail. Do you think it's the constitution that hinders us to deliver?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's a constitution. It's the legislations that have been written and passed through this parliament sometimes that contribute to such. not necessarily the Constitution per se. The Criminal Procedure Act, how you facilitate an arrest of a person. Back in the days, we could listen to your phone without asking your permission. You came up with the legislation that said we cannot do that. We must apply to a judge. The judge is not appointed, and then we sit and wait until the judge is appointed one day before we can listen to the phones. The judge is appointed, then we can listen to the phones. We arrest the criminal with the phone in his hand. And we want to take the phone and download the phone. You pass a legislation that says, Cyber Act, you can't open this phone without getting a consent from the person. So we ask a person, can you open the phone? He says no. Then you doom, there's a police. Then you must start the whole lengthy process again. So the legislation is passed to try and protect the citizens. But the unintended consequences of that protection leads into criminality. So we have to balance the two at times. Not to say what the legislation is saying is wrong, but we must also look at what is an unintended consequence of this legislation. And then you balance the two and say which one weighs the most. As I said earlier, if you want to prioritize the human rights of a person, whether is not arrested, whether is arrested, definitely the rights of the person that has been found guilty and is incarcerated must be totally different than a person who's walking on the street. But what we find happening is that there is more rights for those in prison than you have for the person on the street. And I want to challenge you to look at your budget expenditure for the people in custody per day cost of an inmate versus what the grant you're giving to a person who's a law-abiding citizen outside the month. 350 versus 350 a month versus a 500 a day. That's how the scale is like. So come to prison, you're going to get education for free, you're going to get free food, you're going to have shelter, you don't run out of water, and so forth. Go outside of prison, you live in a shack. You must rob someone to have bread to eat at night. That's a reality that we find in this country. So the legislation must really, legislation as yourself, we plead that you must please look at these things so that when we recruit in the police, we must recruit people who want to protect themselves, not a career people that they can't find jobs somewhere else and they come to the police as a job opportunity that is created.